Hey guys, Dev here at WeBuyHouses.com. Welcome to the Cash Offer Masterclass, episode number 81. This is a special episode because I have a special guest here at our office in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Branden Grimshaw, he owns iBuyHomes.com. He has a good size operation. Branden's group is, I've talked to you about the three businesses we do, We Buy Houses and Fast Home Offer, and we have a broker license referral desk called Housing Valet. Branden and his team buy more of our Housing Valet deals than anybody in the country. So they're our number one partner in that third business that I've talked to you guys about. So with that introduction, that's why I'm excited to have you here. We like to make money together.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Branden, or introduce yourself to these guys.
Dev, appreciate you having me in. My name is Branden Grimshaw, like he said, and I've been the owner of iBuyHomes.com since 2017, and we've taken that brand and launched it into, we operate in over 30 states throughout the United States. And we have a few strategic locations as well where we have more detailed direct marketing campaigns where we actually operate in Cincinnati and in Palm Beach, Florida, where we have two offices as well. And so since I started my career in Palm Beach and bought and renovated and sold over 1,000 houses in Palm Beach County, only to go on to be national, and we've transacted a little bit over 3,000 single family homes in over 30 states over the last 20 years. And in addition, we're in the rental space as well. So we own just under 100 single family homes, and mainly in Palm Beach and in Cincinnati, Ohio as well. Excited for what we're going to be doing over the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I think the audience might enjoy knowing is, what was it like to transition from being kind of working a local market to working markets in 30 states? Because I think a lot of people have that dream of kind of being remote wholesaler and kind of work in the markets where the opportunities are. They may not live there, but it seems like it's a big challenge to go from working your own market where you can drive and look at a house to having to deal with things remotely. What was the challenge? It seems like you guys have really done well at this, because like I said, through our Housing Valet business, they have bought houses all over the country through that model, and so not many people are able to do that. What's the secret of going to national or being a remote wholesaler like that?
Yeah, I think the secret is you have to be able to control the data. You have to be able to control the asset. So we developed an operating system in 2012 where it's a CRM, and it controls everything. It's basically like a virtual assembly line for processing houses. And I've got a few stories for you before we developed the platform on what ended up happening. But being able to control the flow, being able to control the transaction, knowing, and from a wholesale standpoint, knowing how to basically target the exact buyer within a matter of hours. And so we have a very drilled down approach on being able to sniper who's going to buy this asset. And so that's why we're able to do 2, 3, 4 houses a week inside the wholesaling side, and then from a asset management side, from a buy, renovate, and sell around the country, you have to be able to understand how to basically manage that renovation from thousands of miles away. And so we kind of earmarked. Our process is very similar to like the bank's REO department. So when a bank takes an asset back, the operational piece is set up like an REO department for a bank. So we have an asset manager that manages realtors that end up doing the construction oversight and management, and that allows us to be able to tap into the local markets, the local experts in the market from a construction standpoint, because we're able to get the agent's top relationships, and so we have a really smooth transition and transaction with that.
So, like, if you have an opportunity, and I don't know I'm not remembering what all markets that you bought in, because you bought in so many. Let's say it's Des Moines. Do you need to already know a cash buyer in Des Moines before you make an offer on a Des Moines house? Or are you leaning on, we're going to get this thing under contract and then work with a local realtor?
We
work?
get the properties under contract based on what we know, based on the metrics that we need, which is, we want to be at a 20 to 30% after renovation, after repair value, all in, on our purchase price. Mm-hmm. And so we know that, that's what our target is, really, to get the property under contract at a price that makes sense for the homeowner and also makes sense for us. And so, and then, a lot of times we'll do double closings. A lot of times we'll purchase the property and process it out as a retail fix and flip, and occasionally, and we also will wholesale as well.
Do you have, a lot of these guys that are wholesalers, one of the big challenges they have is building their cash buyer list, so that once they get something under contract, they've got somebody that's going to be interested and could act quickly. So I guess that's kind of what I was wondering is, do you guys have like this massive national cash buyer list, or are you really kind of figuring out that marriage?
Yeah, we work
when
with
the opportunity presents itself.
We work with Investor Lift,
Mm-hmm.
and so we, we're one of their premier users, and so it's been an enormous help for us to be able to, drill down and really find the actual buyers very quickly, and we've been able to utilize some of their AI tools to be able to help expedite that even further. And so, so our disposition is very streamlined, partly because of the operation and the relationship with Investor Lift.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Excellent. That's good feedback. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really good model. There's a few others out there like it, but those guys have good scale. Mm-hmm. So let's one of the reasons, it's funny, because one of the reasons I really wanted, although this guy, he's forgotten more about real estate than I know, and that's why I've always said I like to bring smart people in because they make me look smarter, I guess, because I know.
Appreciate you inviting me here. Not sure about
that.
But
he and I we were talking on a Zoom call. You're based in Cincinnati, right?
Cincinnati.
You were in your office there, and we started talking the other day about some kind of crazy stories, and I thought, these are be fun things to share with you guys. I've got almost 2,000 subscribers now, and I'm trying to figure out what would be some good new content, things to give them that's different, and in this case, I think fun. And I know you've got some. Feel free to use your notes to remind yourself, because I wanted you to hit on a few of these stories, and it seemed like a lot of these stories had happened kind of back during the real estate, the foreclosure crisis back, 10, 15 years ago or something
10, 12, 13 years ago?
Yeah.
Yep.
But share a few of the stories with these folks so they can kind of hear what happens really.
Absolutely. So this is, to preface this is before we had developed any of the operational tools. And some of this is before we've developed our CRM and, where we had the ability to control the flow the way we do now. So, so I'll tell a few stories. One time we bought a house. It was in West Palm Beach. It was in the Acreage, which is a community that's in western West Palm Beach. So 1.25 acre lots to 5 acre lots. And we, my partners and I won the house. I think it was $100,000 to $120,000. We went to the house to rekey it with our contractor, and we rekeyed the property, opened the front door, and staring at us in the living room was a horse actually in the house in the living room. The back door was left open, and they put water in the bathtub, and so we walk in, and the horse is just staring at us. And anyway, so we had to obviously get animal care and control over. And
now, was the horse yours at that point?
I think at that point it was ours, but we gave it over to a community. It was an organization that took care of the animals, and they found it a home. So another scenario. I had a dream. There was at this point we were buying, renovating, and selling. This is in 2012. We were buying, renovating, and selling about 25 houses a month. So that's, and our operation was kind of, we had about 20 people in the office, and about 100 people full time in construction, and we were processing about 100 houses to 120 houses at a time. And I kept having this reoccurring dream that we had forgotten about a house and that we had lost it. And so I went into my partner, Chris and Stu, and I said, I think we've lost a house. And somewhere in the process, one of these 100 to 120 houses, we've forgotten about it. And so we went through every single property, and sure enough, we found the one that basically we had lost. And we go downstairs to get in the car, and we drive to the property, and sure enough, it's Florida in the middle of the summer. The grass is 3 or 4 feet tall. The county has tagged us, code enforcement, tagged us. The back door was open. Anyways, long and short of it, we found the house. We, ended up sending people out, bush hogged it, got it rekeyed and back in the flow. But, we had so many houses going, and we weren't using an operating system. We were using boards with like tape, and we were just basically 4 different sections, and basically we were moving the files through the process like that. So we ended up getting it back in the flow, but that
How long was the house lost?
It was lost for about 5 months. Yeah, and our investor laughed at it, and we were doing 20 houses with him just with his funds. He's like, well, I'm glad you guys found it, and got it back in flow, and we ended up making money on it even.
But about what kind of volume were you guys doing at that? Because obviously, if you're working 2 or 3 houses a month, you're probably not going to forget about one of them. But you guys had how many?
We were doing 100 to 120 purchased at a time. So we were turning about 300 houses a year, 250 to 300 houses a year. So at any given time, there would be 30 in construction, 20 to 30 in initial occupancy, 20 to 30 in construction, 20 to 30 on the market, and 20 to 30 contract to close, which is how we broke it up. And so that was interesting. So another time about this in that same time period. Again, this is before the CRM, before our operating system allowed us to control the data, the flow. We get finished with a project, and we had our listing coordinator go out to the property to get the property listed, and she told us that I went to the property in Unit D, which we owned, had not been rekeyed yet, and still looked like trash was all there and everything. But she went around the corner to Unit B, which was actually on our lockbox, and she went into Unit B, which we did not own, and it was completely remodeled. So we had remodeled the wrong unit. We remodeled Unit B instead of Unit D, and so that one was an interesting one. I think we ended up just wholesaling that one. We punted, and we broke even on the one that we actually did own. But we renovated the bank's property. That was interesting. We left it. We just left it. Anyways.
After that, you guys started saying like Bravo, Delta.
Yeah, exactly.
D and B, they do sound quite as. You sent some contractors out to work there, and they worked.
It was a $25,000 to $30,000 renovation. Full bathrooms, kitchen, flooring. It was completely the bank's property.
You renovated somebody else's house.
I renovated the bank's property.
Well, it was the bank's property, so
we just didn't know it at the time. But so
that was crazy.
Yeah, and that was fun. And another story is kind of a fun one. We bought a house from the county auction, and my partners and I went out to the property to have it rekeyed, and this is in Wellington, West Palm Beach, the Wellington area of Florida, and we drive out to the property, and we get there. We hop out of our car. There's 4 of us. One guy that's gonna, our rekey guy is gonna be rekeying the property, and then my 2 partners and I. We get there, and on the roof is 40 plus peacocks that are basically staring at us. They're, making their, ha, or whatever their sounds are that, they scream at you. And then there's, coming from the backyard, there's 4 or 5 that are kind of running at us as well. Anyways, so we ended up buying a house that the guy, he lost it to foreclosure, and he raised peacocks. He had about 100 peacocks in a cage in the backyard, and wasn't able to take them with him, so he just opened the cages and peacocks started going all over the property. And and to this day, that neighborhood is still known for having live, wild, peacocks in the backyards of people's, there's probably 500 houses in the community, and people still have peacocks running all over the place.
How big is a peacock? Like, how tall is it?
They're big.
They're that big?
Oh, they're huge. Yeah.
Oh, they're 40 of that. That'd be pretty.
Oh no,
they're
6 feet. If they.
Oh my gosh, I was trying to picture
if
how
they do
big a peacock
their feather
really
thing,
is.
they can get to like 5 or 6 feet. So you got like 5, like 4 or 5 feet
Yeah.
wide. They're on the roof going like this, and I mean it was definitely worthy of a video, which we didn't get, but yeah. So that's. That's a few of the stories. We one of the other another interesting one. We being that we were in the acreage, we renovated a few hundred houses, probably 200 to 300 houses in the acreage, and it's a country area, and so one time we were working with our contractors, and we went to the property, and we were getting out of our trucks to walk in the house, and the neighbor had accidentally let out a 1,000-pound bull that started charging us and all of our contractors, and so everybody had to basically kind of run and get in the house and get in their vehicles, and it started charging the vehicles, and so that was an interesting one as well.
Okay, so would you rather deal with 40 peacocks or one bull?
Peacocks for sure. Yeah. The bull, you don't win against the bull.
I was chased by a bull, and not in a real estate deal, but I've been chased by a bull, and I don't like that. I don't run into too many peacocks here in Texas, so we don't see those very often. I don't know if are they indigenous to this is Florida, right? It's Palm Beach.
I mean,
area.
they're a.
Would you normally see a peacock, or was this guy raising them?
He was raising them, but peacocks do live, I think, down in the warmer climates. I'm not really sure, but
nice. All right. Any other stories that you wanted to share?
I mean, one of the things like that, I know the market's very different right now. So a lot of how we were buying houses back then, because it was the foreclosure crisis, everything was basically auction acquisitions and auction.com acquisitions and REOs from the real estate agents. Like, now obviously it's a totally different, you have to, do marketing and, your direct mail and PPC, PPL, TV potentially. So there's different channels now, but what our channel was back then was the auctions. So one day we went down to a Miami auction for auction.com, which I think is now X or something. It's a different name now, but it used to be auction.com. We went down to this auction in Miami, and we were probably 24 years old and 29, so we were young guys in our 20s. We ended up going down there and buying 19 or 20 houses from the auction.com auction that day, spending a few $1 million on acquisitions. And we came back, and one of the properties that we had bought was a lot in Jupiter Farms. So anybody that knows Jupiter Farms, it's a really nice area. Lots today probably are $300,000 plus for a single acre and a quarter. So, but back then we were able to we bought this lot for $13,500, and we put it on the market. We gave it to our agent, put it on the market, and we sold it to a builder. And this builder then, the day of closing, he calls my partner and I up, and he says, why don't you sell me the other lot that you own? And I'm like, we don't own another lot. We just owned, this one lot. And so I told my partner, Stu, I'm like, go and look up, see if we own both lots, And I don't know why we would, but if there's another lot that he says we own, let's see if we own it. Sure enough, he says it's in our name. We bought it. So the bank accidentally transferred us 2 lots for the price of one. We ended up basically selling that. We called the buyer up and told him, yeah, you can have it for $50,000. So we just literally created 50 grand out of thin air. It was a wild time.
Yeah.
So a lot of crazy things happening there. But
well, let's kind of transition to before we close and I lose you here. Wanted to just kind of cover two things. Tell these guys kind of what your thoughts about where we are in the market, 2026, what you're doing with your business, how you're you've aligned your strategies. What are you doing with AI? Anything that's kind of tells us kind of what's ahead for you guys.
Sure.
In your business.
Yeah. So with iBuyHomes, we have we work with Dev and with the We Buy Houses and the Housing Valet guys. We also work with 4 or 5 other strategic partners that we work with around the country from a lead generation standpoint. So our business model that we're rolling out with this year is we're planning on nationally, we're planning on wholesaling majority of the national transactions. We also still are going to be retailing, but only very specific properties that we know we can get in, paint and carpet, paint and flooring, relist, and in a community, something that's very easy to see where the value is on it. And then we're also going to be setting up strategic locations. So the first is, like I mentioned before, the first is Cincinnati, Ohio, and Cincinnati and Dayton. And we really are focusing on the Cincinnati and Dayton market because I have construction crews there. We have a team there. And so we're going to be focusing on really getting the transaction volume up in the Cincinnati market and also in the Palm Beach County markets as well. And so, and then as far as who do I think really wins this year and what strategy, I really like some of you may listen to this and say, well, I got destroyed over the last year or 2 or 3 from retail transactions because the market's been very flat and has compressed in certain markets like the South, the Sun Belt, the West, pretty much everywhere but the Midwest and maybe some of the Northeast. And so at the end of the day, I think the best strategy is for an individual like you guys, like an individual to buy, renovate, and sell, 3 to 6 houses, a year where you can buy them at a good discount. You can renovate them and control the costs and then dispo them or, sell them and make, $40,000 to $50,000 a property. I think that's a fantastic strategy for this year. I think the market over the next 2 to 3 years is going to get much more stable, more transactions happening. And so, I think that's a really good strategy that most anybody can implement with a basic training. And I would encourage you to go find a really good real estate agent that maybe has some relationships with the construction team, right? Go to reonetwork.com, and look up the REO agent in your area and basically build a relationship with them. Most of the time, those agents on reonetwork.com, they were vetted out and trained by all of the banks for the last 20 years, and specifically the foreclosure crash. During that crash, the banks trained all these agents to be able to process all of their inventory, thousands, tens of thousands, and maybe millions of homes across the country that went to foreclosure. They had to be processed out, and these agents are the ones that process them out. So recommendation would be to go build a relationship with one of those agents, and they can help you, potentially manage the construction project and also liquidate the asset for you as well.
Yep. We haven't talked about REO on the channel yet. Real estate owned, it means the bank has foreclosed and they have taken possession of the property, and now the bank is in essence the seller, right? And they do work with specific real estate agents who are trained, I guess, in that REO space, right? So do you see more foreclosures this year than in the past few years, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have, we're already seeing an uptick, especially in certain markets. So you've got, Florida, the west coast of Florida has been hard hit. hit pretty hard with the 2 hurricanes that hit. Some of Texas even has, Texas has, has been a soft market over the last couple of years. So I would assume that there's more foreclosures. But yes, foreclosures, I believe, are ticking up, and also delinquency on car loans is going up. So there's like a correlation between car loans, missed payments on credit cards, missed payments on homes kind of follows, and so that is it's looking like it's going to move, to we're obviously increasing the number of foreclosures.
I don't think people are expecting it to be like
not like
a record-setting year, but
No.
foreclosures were artificially low during the COVID time because the government, protected people so that they didn't lose their homes, and so there was forgiveness and what do they call it, remediation, or whatever they do, where they renegotiate or put what you owe on the end of the thing.
Yeah, forbearance.
Forbearance. Yeah.
Reinstatement and forbearance.
That's what I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
So how many people are on your team, and where are they located?
Yeah, so we have 2 offices, one in West Palm Beach, one in Cincinnati, Ohio. So in my real estate business, we have a total of just under 15 employees. 12 of those work in the buy, renovate, and sell business, and buy and wholesale business, the I Buy Homes company. The other 3 are in my property management business. So we have 2 property management companies, one in Palm Beach, one in Cincinnati, and we have these companies to really manage our own units, and then we also manage for some others as well.
Yeah.
And so we keep it small. It's small team, but really dialed in. They very experienced.
Yeah. Another topic in the last couple of years that I'd like to get your opinion on for these guys is it seems like the last few years has been kind of a war on wholesaling. A lot of states have started to impose, in some cases, some really crazy rules. Like, I don't know if North Carolina has passed theirs yet. I don't know if South Carolina did, and almost making wholesaling illegal. Like it's a brokerage activity, and so you have to be licensed in order to do it and all that kind of stuff. So have you seen this, and are there states that you guys just are not interested anymore because you can't do these types of transactions in those states?
Yeah, we're not gonna do transactions in states that have blatantly, stated that they don't want these types of transactions to happen. So, we stay out of, for the most part, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, some of the other markets we're staying out of, and. At the end of the day, there are still ways to be able to do transactions. Like if you were to, in those states, if you wanted to operate in, say, South Carolina, just plan on buying the property, right?
Yeah.
Plan on buying the asset. And most likely, because there's a lot less investors that are marketing in those areas, you're going to have a lot less competition when you're actually buying the property from the seller. So you should get a good deal, and you should be able to close on that transaction and fix it up and sell it at a nice profit. And so what they're really doing is they're really trying to protect the agent community, which is a good thing as well. So at the end of the day, that's where it's really coming from.
I think they have good intentions in these states, but what I've seen in working on some of these issues with our We Buy Houses business owners is they're often driven by the realtor associations in those areas and those states who are, to your point, saw 40 to 50% of the transactions in their area might have gone to cash buyers, or hedge funds or whatever, and they're looking and saying, hey, we're not even involved in these transactions. We need to get ourselves involved in these so we can get paid commissions for these transactions. So I think there was one of the things that I saw that really concerned me was that, and I think it was North Carolina, but they went too far in saying, like, it wasn't just about wholesaling. It was about if you were a cash buyer at all and you made an offer to a homeowner, that you may have to incur the cost of an appraisal that would be provided to that homeowner and other things like that, so that, they kind of inserted more regulation in the transaction when it wasn't just a wholesaler, but a cash buyer. And so I began to get concerned that some of these rules, I think initially they were against wholesaling as being kind of a brokerage activity, and then went over to this idea that I can't just, me as a buyer and you as a seller, we just can't agree to something and agree to it ourselves, but we've now got to pull this, state regulator or a broker or an appraiser or other people into the transaction that, and the idea that they're protecting somebody, the seller, I guess. But, most of the people that I bought homes from, they had looked at other operators. I wasn't the only one that gave them a cash offer. It's not like I kind of was doing anything sneaky. Often they filled out my form and your form and other people's forms, and we all went out there and we made an offer. So they created a marketplace for their property, and we weren't operating in a vacuum. And I think sometimes people don't really understand how the business works. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, in our business, there's always going to be homes that, that have, obviously deferred maintenance. Sellers want to sell them cash, and they don't. The homes. A lot of the homes that we purchase don't really fit a traditional agent lists the property and sells it model, right? It's the sellers that we work with. They don't want to clean out their house. They don't want to remove the old car in the backyard, and they want to be able to sell the home and as is condition to us, and us close on it and deal with everything, after the fact. And there's always going to be, I think, a market for that. And there's also one of the things when the agent community started getting pressure from, they got sued a year and a half ago, and lost. And I think that kind of put a little backlash on, where can we make up some of these transactions, and so obviously that's where some of the regulation came from, it's.
I understand.
But and there's still ways to, if you want to operate in those states, there's still ways to obviously operate where you buy the asset and renovate it and sell it.
And many of the folks involved in WeBuyHouses.com, they're either a realtor, or their wife's a realtor, they have a realtor on their team, or they're brokerage, and so a lot of times as I talk to people about this, they're like, it's no big deal to us because we play all facets of this, and we're licensed, and so like I have one guy in North Carolina that's licensed, Patrick Nunn, and I talked to him about this, and he was like, I hadn't even been paying attention to it because he's all good. I guess that's we'll kind of start to wrap it up, and just number one, I would say thank you so much for sharing the stories and telling these guys about how your business operates, because I think I suspect I have several kinds of viewers. Number one, I think there's some folks that just like to look at houses. And so I was telling you in my regular episode, I'm picking a house, we're looking at all the pictures, we build the model, we figure out the ARV, we figure out the repairs, we figure out what we could offer. And I think there's people that enjoy just seeing the houses and being in the process. I think there's others who do aspire to be real estate investors. And so they're seeking this out as education to get them, toward that goal. And then I think there's a third group that are people that are real estate investors, but they just haven't scaled much yet. Maybe they bought a few houses last year, and whatever the case may be. So I've always been really interested in helping people scale their business. That's one thing I really like about just hearing about your operation is you guys scaled. You're able to buy in 30 states. You have a great team. The closing topic I wanted to discuss, and then we'll call it a wrap, is how do you think AI changes our business in the next few years?
In the next few years, that's
going to
be
maybe we should only think about 1 year because it's very difficult to imagine. But how do you think AI changes the business?
Yeah, so we are developing, we've developed an AI tool that basically allows us to be able to communicate with the sellers on a much more rapid pace. So we have an acquisition team of about 8 acquisition associates that work with our sellers all across the country. And so with that, we're going to be supporting that team of 8 acquisition associates with a AI agent that we've developed that's going to be used for the initial phone call is going to be basically the AI vetting working with the seller and going through basically a drop-down process to really qualify and see if that seller, if we're going to be a really good fit to work with that seller. Meaning, is there a motivation there?
Right.
And then what's going to end up happening is the AI tool that we developed is going to set an appointment for our acquisition associates to get on a call with the sellers and help them sell their home. And so we also developed a text message follow-up agent, so that is following up and setting appointments for our acquisition team. And then the AI is also going to be communicating by email, setting appointments. And so in our business, in the next 12 months, we're implementing this tool that we developed. And that should help us be able to serve more clients and more customers, help more sellers get to the closing. And so how is AI going to help over the next year or two? It's a wild, this is a crazy time to be in business in general, I think, because I think that we can see what maybe is going to happen 6 months to 12 months out from an AI tools standpoint, right? But what happens to the industry in 2 years, 3 years? I'm not sure. Obviously, I think you're going to have an enormous amount of efficiencies that are built into everybody's operations, and there probably will be, you'll be able to operate with a leaner team, potentially. And kind of like we talked about last night, the one thing that's still going to be there in 5 years, the one thing that's still going to be there, whether, with whatever happens, the one thing that's still going to be there is people are going to have homes that they have to sell, that they have a high motivation to sell. The homes are in disrepair, and there's going to be a need for those homes to be renovated and resold. That will still be there when all of this shakes out in 3 years, 5 years. The opportunity to buy a house, fix it up, and sell it, flip, if you call it flip, a house, it will still be there. Is wholesaling going to be there? Don't know. Is some of these other models that are out there going to be there? I don't know. But I know what is still going to be there, nearly with 100% certainty, is the ability to buy a property, renovate it, and sell it for a profit.
Yeah. I kind of feel like, as far as we buy houses, we are also working on AI agents, both voice and text and all that. We're running this as episode 81. If you go back to episode 80, my kind of 10th special educational episode series, I talked about the 8 questions we ask every seller. And really what we're talking about is, how do you qualify a motivated seller, based upon condition, time frame, price expectation, all these things. So my 8 questions cover all that. Well, I've built AI. We've got AIs here that now can have a very good conversation with people and ask the 8 questions. Ask the name, address, phone number, contact info, email, and all that, and then go into a qualifying conversation. There's 2 things I wanted to mention this time. I'll get your thoughts on it. Number one, when we started working on this like a year or 2 ago, I had a lot of people, some of our clients and other people say, I don't want AI talking to my homeowners. I'm very good at this. I do this. I'm a master at it. I want to be on the phone. I want to hear their voice. I want to understand their situation, all that kind of stuff. And the other thing I heard is people will not want to talk to AI. And now if you fast forward a couple of years, we're all talking to AI.
Yeah.
And my other thought is that it could be way better in some situations. Like, for example, if a person's not available, the AI is always available, then the caller can immediately engage with somebody. And I really think, this is a point I made in the last episode, is that once we figure out somebody's not a good fit for us, which the AI can do by asking 8 questions, we should guide those people towards the right solution for them. We should never try to force, them into our solution, because we'll be frustrated, they'll be frustrated, it's not the right thing for them. They have a great house, they're not in a hurry. They need to be selling it on the retail market, and they just think a cash buyer is going to give them full price. You get a lot of those coming into the funnel, and as soon as you can identify those and say, oh, I see, that's your situation. Here's what you should do. You should list your house. It's going to take about 82 days to sell. We can tell them a lot of things and push them in the right direction. And so I always encourage these guys, as you're building your real estate investing business, to focus on qualifying people and then offering the right solution for those people. It'll work out for you in the long run.
Sure.
And if you're good at the part you do, the cash purchase and all that kind of stuff, I think today, if you have a house that's not in good condition, it's going to be super hard to sell it in this market right now.
Sure.
Because they're, like here in Texas, a lot of inventory. Prices have been coming. As we look at the houses together, we're noticing, we look at the price history, we can see it was listed last year in February, and then they dropped it, and they dropped it, and they dropped it, and they're chasing, trying to find the market. And, it's not an easy market right now. So if the house is in rough condition and the seller is in any sort of hurry, they should consider our solution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I think these guys learned a lot. Did you have any closing comments or anything you thought that you wanted to share as we wrapped it up?
Appreciate you having me on. I would like to comment on the investor that gets 20 to 30 leads a month and doesn't want AI to be involved with it. I understand that, right? Like, those leads are expensive leads. I understand wanting to have a human on those calls, communicating. But when those leads, stack up to over a year to 300 leads, and maybe you've been able to help, 9 or 10, 12, 14 of the sellers be able to sell their home to you. The other 280 leads, you could put a little AI agent on some sort of a drip campaign where they reach out, once every other week, something along those lines, and maybe you convert another 1 or 2 or 3 of them to a transaction. And you don't necessarily have to think about it. You just develop. You set it and kind of forget it and put it on a schedule follow up until they opt out of until they opt out.
Yeah.
So. And that, the AI is going to just make us more efficient. That's the bottom line. So regardless if you have 30 leads a month or 5,000 leads a month, AI is just going to make you more efficient.
I think it might be the younger guys and girls out there
the 25-year-olds to 35,
that are going to adopt this technology, and then the older investors, they're going to kind of be stuck in their ways and which work. I'm not saying it's a bad idea.
We're not,
but they're older. Some of the older guys are going to say, I got my process. I know how to do this. I learned it from Ron LeGrand or whatever, and I've done it the same way forever. Where I think a lot of these folks that are newer to the business, they're tech savvy, they're smart. They've watched all 81 of these episodes, so they know how to do real estate investing now. They could take an AI thing and start buying leads from Fast Home Offer, if you wish, and really automate a business. But obviously you're trying to find the right people for the humans to work that deal. Like if there's 100 things coming in and there's really 20 of them that fit, we really want to focus on the 20 and not the other 80. And the other 80, one thing I was thinking about is, early when I was doing this, I saw a need to have a real estate agent partner, and I had a great one, Angela. She's not with me anymore, but she moved into a different area. But basically, she and I would go look at houses together because I knew there was a 60 to 80% chance it didn't fit my model, and I wanted to have a solution for them. Even if I didn't make money, I wanted to solve the problem and have like a product on my shelf that once I understood what you need the wholesale product or the retail product or whatever. I think that as soon as you can be a solution provider and not just a house flipper. The other thing I would see in working with people that were getting leads from us, either buying them or through webuyhouses.com, is the guys that saw themselves as just flippers, they would, call, have the conversation, throw the lead away. Call, have the conversation, throw the lead away. And they throw 8 or 9 out of 10 leads just away. And I was always thinking, every one of those people wanted to sell their house. That's why they contacted you. You have a something of value there, a relationship, right? And so I think that's another thing to just be thinking about is how do I help everybody and along the way be successful at the business I decide to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you guys have done that for sure.
Yeah. And Dev, I appreciate you having me on the on this meeting today. And
I guess we'll call this a podcast.
Podcast, yeah.
We podcasted.
Yeah.
Or a VOD.
Yeah.
I don't know. The kids say VOD,
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm old. All right, buddy. Well, that's Branden Grimshaw, I Buy Homes.
Meet you guys.
One of our best partners for our referral business, and we're going to go buy some more houses all over the country. We got
Take care, guys.
plenty to do.
Yep.
See you guys later. Take care.